Hello, my name is Luis Weinstein. I'm a photographer from Chile. I quarantine here in Santiago, and I've been working since many years. As a photographer, what I like to do is taking pictures of daily life, but especially in public spaces. I mean, I like going to private ones, but I'm seldom invited. So public spaces I do fine. And I'm quite engaged also in social issues. So I mostly even always go to demonstrations and rallies to see what it is, what it looks like, to be part of it, to be also a witness. After some years of working with photography and showing my work here and there, and then maybe publishing one thing or other, at some point we were going to have the 40th anniversary of the coup. There was a very dramatic moment in our country, and I think a lot of what we have been doing as photographers is related to that very specific minute. Such a decisive moment in itself for photography and for the culture as a whole. And well, the point is that I said I would like have something like around 100,000 images from ranging from 73 to 1919, so to say. And then what do I do with them? How do I tell some kind of a story? And and I thought then that maybe doing books was going to do that, to fill that gap, to tell that kind of story. So I started with chapter 1, which was called "This Has Been," I was thinking. What could I do with a book? And were some things that I already knew. First, that it had to be non-expensive. It has to be very simply done. Look like a very simple thing, very modest in that sense, and on the other side, be big enough to allow the pictures to be shown, so you really could see details and everything that was inside all of the images. Other of the things I said to myself is that I didn't want many words. I mean, my pictures already have lots of words inside the image, so it's almost always an image within another one. So I think that would be enough. Then I began to think on other things that could put these images together. So why would you like to look at them? And I said to myself, well, let's think of photography as some kind of a document. So this idea of this has been, I mean, it's in the idea of Roland Barthes saying this in Camera Lucida, about this capacity of photography to be a witness, and saying that if I can show this image, is because this has happened in front of the lens, or something that looks like this once you see it in a photograph. And so, well, the first chapter will be like that, and once it was ready, and I really like it a lot, I said, well, now let's think of a whole project. And I said, well, this could be like a book delivered in 4 chapters, one done each year. And so the second one would be about photography and its ability of telling stories. And so I began to think in this great picture, this film by Antonioni, which is called Blow Up. And Blow Up tells the story of a documentary photographer who is a witness to a crime in a public space. And well, at some time Antonioni acknowledged that this was based on some stories by Julio Cortázar, the very excellent writer from Argentina and from France. And the gossip says that this story began as something that Sergio Larraín, our Chilean photographer, first Latin American photographer to become a member of Magnum, that Larraín had told him once as they were having lunch someday in Paris. And I don't know if it's true, but I like very much the idea of this idea of something that is into a photograph being translated into a written story, and then being translated into a film, and then developing in those ways. So I set myself to do the second chapter with all this limiting, so to say, these boundaries that I set myself, like a size and about the same amount of images, the same kind of putting the bleeding images next one to the other. Sometimes just one image for the double pages. The other part would be that I wanted the spreads, these double pages, really to be open. So we decided this kind of binding with a stitching in the middle, which works quite well with few pages, as it is with this project. So this second one was the blue story, like a sad story told in pictures. As any story told in pictures, it's more loose in the storytelling that it would be with words, since you don't really direct the viewers or the readers in the same ways, and I enjoyed very much doing that. The third one was in the idea of reportage, of the photo essay, with also classic in photography, of one of the things that photography is intended to be, one of the things you do when you're a professional photographer, as I am myself. And then I said, well, I have a couple of reportages I really like, which are about occupying the public space, and one of them I made it through the years, like maybe 10 years, taking pictures in the seaside, where people would go for the weekend, maybe sometimes even for just one day during the summertime, to spend there one day next to the sea and cook there and be all the whole family, and then coming back. And this happened during the 80s in this resort close to Santiago. And at the same time, I had another one which happened in a terrain, a former agricultural terrain, very close to the city, in the outskirts of the city. And then one day in 1983, this place, these acres were occupied by like 300 families. So. And we went there with a group of photographers, and I took pictures from this place during, I don't know, 3 days long, when this activity was going on. I mean, we took the pictures, we went there to be with them, to put some kind of media shield to help them if the police were coming and throw them out of this place. So, well, I had these two reportages, and what I decided is to put them one next to the other, instead of putting one reportage and then the other one. So on the left page, you have one of the reportage, and then the other one, you have the other one. And we put the horizons together, we chose the images, and I chose the images in a way that sometimes you can't tell which one is the new shanty town and which one is the summertime by the seaside, because the people will be the same, the kind of dwellings will be the same, and of course the photographer is the same guy. And then in the fourth chapter, also taken during these 17 years of dictatorships, I mean, everything I took was and is still in this vast archive of those years that I did. The last one is I was thinking of photography as the source for family albums. So I said, well, I have this family album of some weird or strange or whatever family in Santiago, and I would like to show the night, the music and dancing. So I set myself to say, well, we had this curfew. In fact, the chapter is called Curfew. But even though we were in such a condition, we still were able to live and staying alive and doing things, even if it gets so bad sometimes. It's the most important part of it. Staying alive is centrally the central part of everything, every struggle, every fight or whatever. So I just wanted to show that. Well, the whole set, the whole 4 chapters are binded in one collection. I managed to get 50 of this edition. It's called "It Is What It Is." So it means, well, I'm sorry, it's just this, and then on the other side, it's saying, well, you know, it was like this, no, and from where I saw it. So again, many versions, many layers in behind the titles, the words, and of course behind the pictures, the photograph, as always. So, well, I enjoyed very much doing this work, and I like very much putting it into these walls, and I'm very thankful to the Kolga Tbilisi Festival, because it's such a great chance to show my work to you guys out there. I don't know who you are, and I wish sometimes we meet. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much for being there. See you at some point.